Herzlich willkommen zu Saatkorn, deinem Podcast mit Inspiration für eine bessere Arbeitswelt. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Saatkorn Podcast. Ihr lieben Freundinnen der Podcast-Unterhaltung, ich werde jetzt auf Englisch switchen, da ich heute Gäste an Bord habe, die teilweise der englischen Sprache mächtig, aber in der deutschen Sprache nicht total flüssig sind. Insofern werde ich jetzt mein Bestes geben und ich freue mich total. I'm really looking forward to my guests here. It's Nina Redel. She's Head of Talent Acquisition at Wipro. Hello, Nina. Nice meeting you here.
Hi, Gero. It's a pleasure to be with you here today.
And then Kishan Kerody. He's HR Director Germany at Wipro. Hello, Kishan.
Hello, Gero. Thank you so much for having us here. Quite excited to be here today.
Perfect. So please give us a short introduction regarding Wipro. Nina, what is Wipro about? It's at the end of the day, I would describe it as tech consultancy, transformation consultancy.
Yeah, I think this is a part of it. So Wipro is a large-scale global organization with around about 240 employees around the globe. So the headquarter is in India. So Wipro is one of the large tech giants, so to speak. Yeah, mainly founded and headquartered in India. And consulting, as you just described, is part of it. Yeah, so this is one of the global business lines. The core business, how I would put it, is really on IT services across the board. Yeah, so it could be from software development, it can be about infrastructure services, it can be about workplace, it can be about cloud technologies, it is now about AI, of course. And all of those fancy topics, everything around technology.
All right. Thanks a lot. So a huge company, you said 240,000 employees worldwide. That's a huge number, and coming from India, right? That was the origin.
Yes, it's an Indian MNC company.
Great. And this is also what we are about to talk about in this podcast, really India and Germany and in the comparison of talent shortage, in the comparison of recruitment and things like that. So perhaps, Kishan, just give us some information. How did you end up in good old Germany?
Great. That's a nice long story, but I'll try my best to crisp it. So my name is Kishan Kerody, as you heard. I joined Wipro in 2017 January, and then I was part of one of the engineering group where I was managing HR. I had close to about 6,000 people under my span as employees that I had to take care with, about 10 HR supporting me. And I always had this plan of doing an on-site role, and I believe that the more countries you visit, the more language and labor laws that you understand, it makes you a better HR professional. And in order to expand and go back and become a HR head of the organization, which is my future, is what I think. I thought it'll be good to pick up an international opportunity. I did try applying for US and Germany. The Germany clicked for me, and I happened to travel to Germany in 2020 December, where I was given the role of a SMU HR, and I'm also leading the entire sales HR group for entire Europe. So that's how I landed in Germany. Quite exciting. A lot of things to learn. We'll talk more about it as we go by.
Super fascinating role. That's something I don't hear that often. HR a representative also taking responsibility for sales. Very interesting. I like that, and I wish there would be more mixed up roles like that also in Germany. Nina, how did you end up at Wipro, and how long are you already with Wipro?
Yeah, so I started my journey here with Wipro exactly 3 years back, and I joined in the first instance as the talent acquisition lead for Germany and Austria. And then after, I think 1.5 years, I got the great opportunity to also take care of the recruiting for the Nordics countries, predominantly Sweden, not Switzerland, and Finland. And then even Switzerland came on top of that after 1 year after that, and now it's 3 years. And just recently, I got the privilege, so to speak, to take ahead the talent acquisition lead role for continental Europe. It's excluding UK and Ireland, so this is managed by one of my colleagues. And it's pretty much spanning from Finland in the north to Italy in the south, from Portugal in the west to Romania in the east. If we span across Europe as a continent, and so that's mainly what I'm doing, and I'm navigating the fascinating landscape of tech talent acquisition, where the challenge, as we know, is not just about finding the right talent, which we all know in the talent labor gap what we have here in Europe, which is already a big challenge, but also to really trying to bring both cultures together while we are still an Indian organization, really trying to embrace those two different working cultures and ethics, and help to create an inclusive and innovative workforce. So.
Honestly, I gotta say, you both have super interesting roles. And I don't know Wipro from the inside, obviously, but it seems like taking over responsibility fast might be a cultural topic for Wipro. So that sounds really great. And probably both, you are super talented, and that's why you you get so fast so much responsibility. Great. Let's start with a comparison. Let's take Germany and India. To me, this is really interesting. I've never been to India, but it's a huge country with a lot of people and a lot of completely different aspects in terms of culture, but also in terms of the market. So we face a lack of talent here in Europe, and especially Germany at the moment, a little bit overshadowed by the not so good economic situation. But speaking in general, given the demographic change, but also digitization, and also the change of cultural aspects, I guess this is a super important topic now, but even more so in the future, as soon as the economy will pick up again. In India, the situation is completely different. So, Kishan and Nina, I would be super happy if you give me some insights regarding the Indian labor market.
Sure. I think let me take that, and uh, let me touch upon the demographics of the country so that it gives a good visibility, right? As we all know, India just beat China a couple of years back on the global population, right? We are about 1.4 billion population, where compared to Germany, which is about 84 million. Again, Germany stands out, being the largest economy at about 3. India is striving, and they are not too behind. They're doing about they're standing in at the 5th place today. Then coming to the topic of tech universities that we were saying, just for a comparison, we have close to 1,793 tech universities in India, where graduates pass out. To compare to that, it's only about 17 in Germany. And some other interesting facts: election period in India, because of the population, the election goes on for what, 6 full weeks, and then there's a conclusion. Germany, one sunny day and it's done, right? Then another interesting fact: birth rates. Germany is just about 1.6 versus India 2.1. Of course, and the population is talking there. One other interesting fact that you like to hear about the official languages, right? In Germany, you have one official language. In India, we have 22 official language. If you come to dialects, then it'll go beyond 100 kind of thing, right? electric cars is another topic that we were thinking, which will define, right? India does about 1.5 1.5 million of electric cars, whereas Germany about 524K of electric cars that's sold in 2023. And of course, Germany is leading from the wind energy perspective. Germany is doing about 32% of their energy through wind source, but India is still picking up there with just about 10%. These, I hope, this gives you a good view of the demographies between two countries, which will be the foundation of what we're going to speak and how we want to leverage the importance. I thought I'll touch upon this topic.
Thank you so much. I mean, in terms of the labor market, we face a very difficult situation over here. Also, given that the baby boomers will all go out of the labor market within the next 5 to 10 years, whereas in India the situation is almost completely opposite, right?
Absolutely. Let me take this question as well. I think that is the problem statement that we want to bring today, right? I think we will have to collaborate. It's a global economy. We'll have to leverage, complement each other. In order to do that, again, some interesting facts, right? We have close to about 75K tech graduates pass out in Germany in 2022, in which computer science was exclusive 34K. Whereas when you come to an Indian market, we have 1.5 a million employable tech graduates who pass out, and this is the data from 2023. Comparatively, the job opportunities that we have today, India is still able to have at least 270K plus job opportunities, whereas Germany has high demand of 149. So there's a clear gap of about 114K computer science engineers, and that's where we say that this is our most important challenge. And the second trend that we are seeing, of course, is the baby boomers retirement, right? By 2026, you'll be amazed to hear at least 12.9 million people retiring, which means that the gap is going to significantly increase over time. And that's where we want to leverage and see how we can combine both these worlds and bring a global balance and ensure that the demand and supply of talent is well taken care of.
Listening to all of this, one could think, well, given the numbers, it sounds so easy. Let's get some people from India to Germany, problem solved. Obviously, it's not that easy. And Nina, what's your experience so far? I mean, there's so many aspects that might be different between Germany and India. What are the biggest challenges in terms of talent acquisition if the plan is to get more people from India to Germany?
I would not say it as a challenge in that sense, but I think Kishan and myself, why we really enjoy working together. And I'm a German girl, right? So for me, it's the first time working for an Indian organization, and for Kishan, it's relatively new to be in Germany. And I think we both really want to speak about how it is for the both of us, yeah, to work in that situation. And I think we really, I mean, we are both married. I don't want to say we fell in love with each other, but in regards to working relationship, right? I think we really enjoy working together. I know the discussion in Germany about migration and everything which is going on, right? And I would really bring some positive statement around this topic, yeah, because I feel that there is so much more in common. Okay, that's probably a little bit taken from the US election period, yeah, which Kamala Harris spoke about all the time. But I mean, there's so much what we can learn from each other, and this is why we really want to try to inspire people to combine both from best from both worlds. That's how you should put it. And this is enriching, right, for both sides. And if we talk about cultural aspects, maybe to come with one example, which make it a little bit more tangible. There is this context of high context culture and low context culture. Yeah. And so if India is at the one end of the scale, Germany is at the other end of the scale. Yeah. And what does it really mean? High context cultures, they have a communication style which is more based on body language, tone, and the overall context. Yeah. And it's usually those societies are more relationship oriented at work as well. Whereas low context culture at the other side of the scale, they are more straightforward and more explicit in how they communicate, right? And now guess which culture relates to which country. Yeah. So Indian is high context culture, Germany is low context culture. And this can definitely create some kind of confusion in working relationships. Yeah. There is, for example, this Indian way of really agreeing to something to a colleague in a Teams virtual meeting, for example, there is this half shake, half nod of the head, yeah, which is perceived in Germany as no, 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 not at all, right? Whereas the Indian person tries to convey the exact opposite, saying, I'm absolutely in agreement with what you are saying, right? And you can now just imagine in a client situation where you have a complex IT transformation program running with your client, right? And if you then may have these, different ways of how you communicate, this could probably lead to some misalignment or misunderstanding, right? So, and these are topics where we think that's not so complicated to tackle this, right? It's just more a question of awareness, and this is why we love talking about it, so to speak.
That's super interesting. How do you deal with these things at Wipro? And how many people from India do you have from Wipro or at Wipro in Germany? Roundabout.
Sure. Let me take that. In Wipro, we have close to about 1,200 employees working, and out of that, we have 35% of the population from India working here. That's the number that we have within, and mostly the Indians here take up very expert level opportunities, which requires high level of IT skills. That's the position they fill and ensure that we get more business.
Okay. And how do you train your own people? I mean, you will have a big mixture then of diverse talents coming from different backgrounds. So the example Nina just mentioned shows that at least you have to create awareness for differences in the cultures, but probably there's even more to it. Do you have cultural training? How do you deal with that?
Sure. Let me take that question. In fact, I'll share my own experience with you, right? Before coming to Germany, I had to go through multiple process, right? I was given a call in February 2020 that, hey, there is a job opportunity in Germany. Would you want to pick? And I said yes within a day. Then start the journey. And by the way, I landed here in December 2020, so that's the period it took me. There were a lot of internal processes. One, there was a cultural training that was given, basically to understand two distinctive cultures, what they mean, what is that we as Indian think is a way of life but will not work in Germany. I think that was the takeaway for us there. Then came the language. I tried to spend a little time every day, 1 hour, learning the language, learning words, learning important words, which will help me navigate through my first initial days. And then came the visa process. That's again a long journey, and we'll speak about that. I think, yes, we in Wipro ensure that every colleague who's coming here is at least A1 certified as much as possible. We try aiming at that. There are certain customer critical positions which does not require language, and we have them flying, but we try our best to keep our internal system intact so that we get the right people on board. So that's how we train people in getting, and once they are here, we also give them a buddy, and ensure that he can always go to this buddy, ask the nuances, and ensure it is taken care. From a HR point of view, I have a HR intranet page where I have documented a presentation which says what things to know in Germany, things that you need to do on day one, what you cannot ignore, what you can ignore, like the ADF fees that we pay. For us, it's very new, right? I went to my colleague and asked, do I need to pay this 17.5 euros every month? And he said, do not miss that. That's the most important thing. So I couldn't understand to this, but I think those documentation also help people in ensuring that it's taken care. One other surprise, of course, I tell people is Germany has a lot of paperwork. So it's very rare in India.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very rare in India that I have something on my mailbox, right? But in Germany, I make it a point every 2 days I go and open my mailbox and say, do I have something for me? And I keep getting these letters. So these are important for them to know, and that's the kind of preparation we do for them in order to get into Germany and have a smooth journey for them. Gary.
Thank you so much. Nina, in terms of the German colleagues that are there, I guess they should also be trained. And in terms of welcome culture, and what do you do there?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty much about getting thrown into the hot water, yeah, and start swimming, right? I mean, that's first and foremost mainly it, yeah. So I think we do have this quite balanced mix of Indians and Germans, yeah. So therefore, it may be also a different situation, yeah, if you have 90% Germans and only 10% Indians or so, this may be more challenging for the individual person. And here we have, as Kishan stated, 35% Indians working in Germany. So it's not 50%, not 50-50, but that makes it probably easier. Yeah, and then I think, and this is really an important point because while we spoke about the cultural differences, yeah, and I would probably like to introduce one more concept in that space, which talks about relationship at work. Yeah, and this is also something which is completely different in both the cultures. So in Germany, I think we are more specific. Yeah, that means people really keep work and personal lives separate, right? So there may be differences, or maybe some from time to time, from case to case. Maybe people may have also strong private personal relationship, right? But usually we think that you can achieve your business objectives, your work goals and objectives without having a strong personal relationship with a coworker. And in India, it's absolutely the opposite. So Indians, and Kishan may confirm, right? They're more of the thinking you need to have a strong personal connection and relationship to a coworker to being able to achieve your business objectives. And therefore, I think it's quite good that we have such a high number of Indians working in Germany because they need this community around them to be happy and also successful. And that's probably it. And something what we do, and I like this a lot, is we have culture talks. Yeah, this happens every month, and I just did it 2 weeks back myself. So every month we have one person from whatever kind of cultural background. It could be an Indian, from Sweden, Switzerland, France, Portugal, Benelux region, wheresoever. And then it's 1 hour's talk organized by our talent skilling team. And they are they have created a set of really good questions, and they are talking through and introducing the one person and talking through their culture, yeah, from cultural differences in working culture, but also, for example, what does Germany stand for in the world, right? And for me, it was also quite interesting to answer all of these questions, starts reflecting for myself on German culture. And this is, for example, something which usually have high attendance rates. So people are really interested in listening to and exploring and embracing, right, those different cultures. So I think that's part of the DNA as well.
That sounds really interesting. Any things that might be funny or surprising that come to your mind, Kishan?
I can relate, and I'm sure you will. I found my spouse in the office. We end up spending 12, 14 hours in the office with zero extracurricular activities outside. You end up finding your spouse, and this is just not me, right? I mean, it happens very commonly in India that you end up marrying somebody who in the office that you work. And this was funny because Nina was referring to the relationship kind of thing, and I thought I'll bring this up for you.
That's great. And Nina, respectively from you, any surprising, funny experiences you made with all the Indians on board?
Yeah, so I think while you asked me for the differences in the recruiting process, there's something which is completely different. And this was unfortunately not really a nice experience. Yeah, we were able to tackle it and have taken measures to prevent from happening again, hopefully. But very often we do have interviewers working from India, yeah, while they need to interview candidates located in Germany. And we had one candidate from the cybersecurity area, and the interviewer from India had taken a screenshot from the candidate in the Teams meeting, right? Which is, as we know, in Germany, it's completely not allowed because of the GDPR law and all of this. Yeah. So why did this happen? Because in India, they do have a challenge that it happens from time to time, yeah, that the person who is showing up in the interview is not the person who is joining you on the first date of joining, right? And therefore they really need to do this to prove identity, yeah. And then the interviewer did a mistake and just by default, by accident, so to say, sent a screenshot to the candidate itself, and the candidate received his own screenshot. And of course, he was not so happy with that. Yeah, and then you need to really come with proper explanation why that happened and what you are doing and undertaking that this will not happen again. Right. So those are some things that may happen in regards to recruiting, for example. Mm-hmm.
Given the big discussion in Germany in terms of migration, yes, no, perhaps. I mean, one thing is super clear. Without immigration, our economy will end up pretty fast. So it's super important to be open. And are there any wishes you have to the German politic institutions?
Sure,
Or
let me
yeah.
So let me take that question. I think thank you for bringing that up. And this is exactly what we want to work as well. We have seen a significant increase, right? As Gero, I was just mentioning that when I was coming in 2020, and of course, all the world changed because of COVID. I agree that, but it took me at least 8 months to get my visa process completed. Today, I see a great step by the government, both India and Germany, to make this happen. Right? I mean, me and Nina were just discussing the recent case of approval was very quick. Within 2 weeks, we got a ZAV approval, which is a pre-visa approved, and within 4 weeks, he got an appointment to go and attend the interview. So, which means in 6 weeks, the guy has actually got his visa secured, and in a 1 week's time, he'll get his visa and he travels to Germany. So, there has been a significant cut down in the visa processing time. In order to make this more simplified, I think the steps taken are digitalization of the visa process application, simplification of the work visa rules, modernization of visa issuing process, targeted advice for Indian students on how they have to prepare well. They're also doing a German courses and job fairs in India just to ensure that this process is quicker and they know these opportunities are coming. So I think the government has taken a lot of steps. There's a fantastic handshake between the government. We expect more. I think so far we've seen good progress. That's my view. Nina, if you want me to add something.
Yeah, maybe just on top of that, I just spoke today in the morning to our global mobility person. It's primarily the person who's taking care of those visas and work permissions and all of that. So our life may be a little bit easier because for us it's more an intercompany transfer, right? We bring people from India to Germany, and the process may be a little bit more easier here and there, but we still need to queue up in, with all the Arbeitsagentur and Ausländerbehörde and who else is involved in all of this. But and I was surprised, by the way, he was super positive about it, and he's of the thinking, and it's his full time job, right? He's dealing with these topics since many years, so he absolutely knows what's going on. And he's quite positive, stating that he doesn't understand really the negative talk around this topic in Germany. Everyone is blaming the government and that things are not working out. And so he just gave me an example for one person who is currently planning to come to Germany. And it took exactly 6 weeks, yeah, which is super fast. At the same time, last year, it could have taken up to 1 year,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
to get it right. And I asked him then, okay, but why is this, where does this big difference, where does this come from, right? And it's partially, and we are talking here about qualified academical migration, right? But if you also have so many immigrants coming through many other routes, this keeps our authorities busy, of course, yeah. Then we may have the situation that economical downturn is a little bit there, right? So that means maybe our competitors are sending less Indians to Germany, yeah, which may catch up again soon, yeah. But he was quite positive. And maybe one more example, Germany just reduced the limit in regards to the salary. That means there's an amount of money which you need to earn to being eligible to get a European blue card, right? And I think last year this amount was still with 58,000 euros per annum gross annual salary. And Germany has just reduced that this year to 45,000, yeah, to really reduce boundaries, yeah, and to really, yeah, do better here. And therefore, I think that's really something we also need to appreciate. Also, he was quite positive on how we are developing here right now. So.
It's very nice, right? At the end, we end here on a very positive note. It's not really the end, and because I have one last question for each of you. Since Saatkorn has the claim inspiration for a better working world, I would be super interested to know if there's anything that inspired you during the last weeks or so. So, Kishan, do you have something that was an
Sure.
inspiration for you?
Sure. In fact, yes, there was one great achievement that we accomplished, and I'll highlight that in Wipro. We signed a hunting policy. This was in collaboration with Wipro's policy versus the Joint Work Council negotiation. I think we had a very good negotiation, and then we arrived at the first signature, which was pending for at least 2 years now because we were running on the old policy. So I think that has inspired me. I always believe in getting the right policies for the people which will help them in their life. So I think that inspired me. I want to do more of that closures, which helps me, Gero.
Keep my fingers crossed for you. And Nina, do you have also some inspiration?
Yeah, so I just recently read a book from Florence Gaub, which may be known, and the book is called Zukunft, eine Bedienungsanleitung. So, and I think this is quite inspiring for me, at least, because she comes from academical background, and she really gives all the history on how people think about future from the past and where we stand today. And that was quite inspiring for me because she is really making the point that we could think about different futures. There is not only one future. A future is pretty much what we make out of it, right? And so this is something which I found super inspiring, that there's not only one future, but there are plenty, and we can just push for the future we want to have.
Thank you so much for this inspirational hint. that book is on my list actually, so I will read it earlier than planned. Thank you so much for this 35 minutes. I didn't want to stop. Usually the ZaatCon podcast is maximum 30 minutes, but to me it was super interesting to get your respective perspectives on the topics we just addressed. So I wish you all the best, and perhaps we'll do another ZaatCon podcast episode in the future. So far, my thanks to you, and I wish you all the best.
It was our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you so much for having us here. Thank you.
So, das war diese ZaatCon-Podcast-Episode. Ich hoffe, dir hat Spaß gemacht und sie hat dir gefallen. Bevor ich jetzt hier rausgehe, noch ein kleiner Tipp für dich. Abonniere doch kostenlos meinen ZaatCon-Newsletter. Dann gibt es jeden Sonntag alle Podcasts, alle News, alle Artikel, alle Verlosungen, alles, was ich auf ZaatCon so mache, gratis in dein Mailpostfach, und du hast bequem alles an einem Ort und verpasst nichts mehr. Das Ganze kostet, wie gesagt, nichts. Den Link zum Abo gibt's in den Shownotes. Würde mich freuen, wenn wir uns da wieder treffen. Ganz lieben Dank und bis bald. Ciao.